Hello everybody. It's cold as whiz here and snowing. Got a new recruit. You want me to tell them who you are?
It doesn't matter.
This is Mr. Robert Henson. And I ain't. I'm Ronnie. Bob, he's in jail again, but he should, somebody, if he can get old BC bonding, he'd be here before long.
Oh.
Now, at least that's the rumor.
That's the
that
rumor.
He'll be here before long.
Yeah, it's a shame to get detained over your critters though, but
What's going on? Anything out your way?
there's always something going on. I can't remember half of it, but do a lot of reading and forget about half of it. But for about what it's worth. What would you like to philosophize? The latest, well, let me say this. I just picked up a paper that I've missed about 3 days of my reading. I've been out of town. But anyhow, I just saw a thing here where the ORNL is going to increase they're attempting or putting out bids to increase their computer capacity.
I thought maybe they're going to get some more guards to catch them there old ladies that wandered through the area.
Oh man, that there's always something in the paper with the ORNL or the TVA or something.
They're having they already got the fastest computer in the world over there somewhere.
Well, that's debatable. China may have the fastest one. I believe the ORNL is rated second. And
well, they were supposed to have a new parallel processing thing going in that would make them the fastest. I don't know whether it's online yet or not.
They considered it to be the fastest at the time that it was brought up. The Titan was.
Well, I'm talking about in the last little while now.
Right.
Okay.
Within the last, I would say, 6-8 months or something like that, maybe a year.
They can do like they do on these buildings. They can just put a radio tower on top of it, and it'll be the tallest.
The tallest, okay. I cannot comprehend as to why we need a computer that will do 200 petabits, something like that. It's 1,000 billion decisions per second, and now they're wanting to increase that by 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. That'll be 1,000 times faster.
Well, I don't know what comes after Pico.
I don't either. It gets out there so far I don't understand it. But the question I'd like to ask is that do we have anyone with the intelligence to ask it the questions in the right way to get the answers?
Well, all it does is just say yes or no.
That's correct.
And you have to set your program up to ask it the questions to steer it in the direction you want to go.
To where it'll give a yes or no answer.
That's like you want to know what's the sum of 50 and 50. Is it 51? No. Is it 52? No. Mm-hmm. Is it 53? Let me check. No. Is it 54? No. And you go on up to, well, you can also add, you can multiply 2,726 times 376,312 and then spit the answer out. If you ask the right questions, you just have to answer them fast enough, ask them fast enough.
Okay. The time it takes you to answer the question, it's already got the answer. And we're talking about numerical questions.
That's all numerical when it starts counting.
Okay. In order to ask it a question in logic, then you have to put that question in a form of numerical then, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Or is okay.
That's why Al Gore, his computer program won't predict this global warming just right. He ain't asking the right question.
And asking it in the right manner. But anyhow, to do this, they're talking about 3 different locations, 3 national labs. One of them has what's considered to be the 5th fastest, and I believe the other one's the 7th fastest in America. And the Titan, is considered to be, according to this article, the 2nd fastest in the world. Now, the companies that they're going to acquire this computer
That
from,
too hot on you?
no, that's fine. Then they must be the owner of the fastest computer. Then, if they're going to take bids for them to, of course, they may not have it. They may have to design it. The thing that I could understand was they expect the cost of it to be $125 million each. So we're talking $375 million for the 3 different locations.
It costs more than concrete on a cold day, don't it?
Mercy. Sounds like a lot of money to me. What I would like to hear, these computers, this whole thing is financed by public funds, by taxpayers' funds.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that this computer produces or whatever it comes out with, actually that information belongs to the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like
But they
to,
won't let us have it.
well,
I'd like to
yeah,
know
yeah.
all about the modeling of the internal workings of a nuclear explosion, but they won't let us have that stuff.
A nuclear explosion.
You know,
That'd
that's
be
what
interesting.
they do.
Well,
They don't do that there underground test anymore because they can model it with a computer.
okay, they can make a simulator as to the amount of the effect and whatever else.
But they still can't tell whether it's
Okay.
going to snow tonight or not.
That still brings up even another question: is a nuclear explosion, weapon or whatever, is designed? My understanding is to destroy life or property or whatever else. And once you have the ability, and this is my understanding, that we have the ability to destroy every living organism on Earth right now, plus many times over if you take in what Russia.
Them cockroaches will still be here.
Well, what is the point in building a weapon that is so much more devastating? Seems to me like once you get to the point to where that you can.
Well, you want to be able to aim it. You light it here and it blows up things in China, you know.
That brings up another one I heard,
Uh-oh.
and
You'll be wanting to stop the leak in BP oil well next.
VP. Oh, that was a good one. No, we could discuss that for a long time. Have a good fun out of it. I read another article that says that China tested a rocket.
Yeah.
Did you hear that one? That run Mach 10.
Uh-huh.
That's fast.
Yeah, that's as fast as I don't know anything that fast.
Mach 10 is fast.
That'd be about 7,000 miles an hour, wouldn't it? 8,000.
I guess I'd have
8 times the speed of sound.
We'd probably have to get Titan to figure that out.
7,000.
But have you ever heard a sonic boom off of a fighter?
Well, they used to test them suckers here. I've heard
Yeah.
that.
When we back years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounded like 2 booms together, you know, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And of course, on the television, they'd always advise us as to how this is for our defense and the cattle running through the fences
Yeah.
and whatever.
Made you feel safe, didn't
Yeah, it made you feel safe. Now, I believe that they don't allow that anymore, do they? To allow military aircraft to fly Mach 1, in excess of Mach 1, in residential or whatever else like where we're
Let
at.
them go Mach. They don't let it. I mean, when you get to Mach 1, it goes boom. They
That's
got
right.
to stay less than that.
They have to stay less than that. But
Well, you know, that was the problem that they had with the what was that there one that France built,
yeah, that
supersonic passenger plane.
can't think of the name
They
of it
couldn't
now.
think of no Concorde.
The
They
Concorde,
wouldn't
right?
let it land nowhere.
Well, but it didn't have to do with the speed of it, though, did it? It was the size and the amount of landing
No, it went faster than the speed of sound.
Right,
And they had to have special permission to land the darn thing because it made too much noise.
But they didn't land it at that speed. I mean, they had to.
No, but they
that
had
was
to
in
get
transit.
it up that speed.
To take off or land it?
Well, no, not to take it. They didn't land at that speed, and they didn't take off that speed.
Okay.
But they had to.
It had the capability.
It had to get up to that speed in the process of taking off, and United States never would allow them without some sort of. And I don't remember a whole lot about it, but they had problems using it because, well, for instance, you might land it in New York.
Well, I believe they did.
You might land it in on the West Coast,
right.
But you couldn't fly over, and you couldn't land anywhere in between because if you did, you couldn't get up to speed without making a noise. So,
right.
And I think a whole lot of that was because France got the contract on them.
Well, is there not one? There's just one left or two, and they're in museums, aren't they?
They're not flying them.
No, they're not flying them. Well, they lost the one. They crashed the one.
Yeah, I don't remember that deal.
It had to do with, if my understanding is, one of the tires blew out or kicked up or somehow and it sucked the tire.
Yeah.
Or somehow the tire had something to do with the crash.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was on takeoff that maybe a piece of the nose tire came off and was sucked through an engine or something. I'm not sure, but
I saw a movie one time where this bad guy got sucked through one of them. He's gone.
it disappeared, huh?
Yeah. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger's after him.
Well, we getting off on all kinds of subjects, but now
you notice that having a little difficulty uptown. Maybe some of the old bosom buddies have turned against each other. They done turned on all their friends. Now they're biting each other.
Yeah, I kind of pick up on that. There is. There's a lot of interesting subjects there that would be entertaining to discuss.
Yeah, some of them better left at a distance, at arm's length. But I noticed they just have the awfulest trouble trying to keep the city administrator up there.
Yeah, if you
want, they bake them a cake and give them a party, and then run them off.
If you wanted to get serious,
they ain't nothing serious about that.
Well,
the way they waste money.
I see no need for a city administrator. I turn that charter
I see no
around.
Need for a city.
Well, there you go. I agree. I see no the city. What purpose does a city serve whenever you come right down to it anymore? We've got the street department and the police department. Well, we've got 4 departments, I believe. And each one could most likely be operated in another manner or under the supervision of...
Well, it can all be done by the county and we wouldn't have to pay city taxes.
This is true. Sure could.
Now that is the key to the thing right there.
Mm-hmm.
More taxes.
Taxes. Whew. There's no end to that part of it.
No,
I see where, I don't know which county it is. It may be Anderson County. That they're going to have a discussion, and it may be tonight, over accepting federal prisoners in their jailing system.
We can't get a jail to hold our own down here.
This jail, this is something else too. I think there's some pretty good discussion going over on it. That was last week. It was being discussed, and probably be discussed some tomorrow night on the slot that you and Bob had. Chad and Jerry are going to have that. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, the last discussion that I heard on it, the county commission had gotten into the thing, and my understanding is they had a vote at a workshop, which doesn't sound right. I can't keep up with the dates as to whether they have workshops or meetings or whatever else. As a matter of fact, I don't rightly care. But it seems that the county has took a position that they will pay half of whatever the extra cost is
Yeah.
in this engineering thing. And in my opinion, this is a bad mistake for the county to get involved in something that is still up in litigation or whatever. If the
Well, we
engineering,
pay these people this big money to design these things, and they ought to man up and do what they got to do when they do something wrong. Of course, I'm going to tell you, it wouldn't cost near as much to build something if you wasn't. Every time you deal with the city or the county on a contract like that, you end up in court before it's over.
oh, absolutely, and it don't have to be on a big deal.
No.
I've seen the cities being sued over what I would consider to be small amounts, but yet being sued this over small things. There was something else that I thought about there while we was having a discussion. I forgot it now. Anyhow, back to the city aspect of it. For over the last several years, I'm going to say maybe back 8 or 10 years ago back, we've had nothing but trouble out of city administration systems. We've been sued. Everything under the sun.
Well, every time they hire one, they have to settle a lawsuit to get rid of them.
Well, I'm sure there'll most likely be a lawsuit involved in this
Well,
one.
I think so
Most
too.
likely. As a matter of fact, well, I'm not sure if there's one been filed or not, but there has been some sort of other one like workman's comp or something. There's been some legal action taken. But it makes no sense anymore. The city, this city has gone the same as most has. The old city, and we go back 20, 30, no, it's further than that, 40 years ago, whenever the business started moving to a more convenient location south. That was about, well, it began to go away.
Yeah.
There's buildings there.
Well, they encourage new business to come in competition to the old business, and the way they encourage them is give them a tax break to get them to come put these other people out of business. Well, yeah, you know they're going to do that.
Well, that doesn't seem fair to me.
It don't seem too fair to me either.
You take
It's like our mayor just talking about he'd been working a year on getting Weigels to come in here. I ain't got a thing in the world against Weigels, but there's not going to be any more revenue for the city, and they're not going to sell any more gas. There's just so much gas to be sold, and they're going to divide it up. You know, that's going to take away from the people who are already here and be no benefit to the city except maybe a little increase in property taxes because they improve a piece of property somewhere.
right, but this goes back. Private enterprise is losing ground constantly. If you, it don't seem fair to me to where you have generations who have stayed with this place through thick and thin, through good times and bad times, and whenever they went into business, the city or county, neither one done anything whatsoever to assist them. They went out there and started on their own and fought whatever rules there was, which there wasn't that many back then. But
I'd say you guys probably dug a well and put in a cesspool and went to business down here, didn't you?
well, we didn't put in a well. We had a well,
Okay.
but right now there's probably an advantage to putting in a well now.
Yep, you get a state permit to drill a well now, don't you?
Yeah, right now wells. I don't know all the technology and whatever's involved in it, but a well has to be registered with the. I guess it would be the state, because if you go to do anything like get any kind of a permit, if it has to do with mining or anything like that, there has to be a survey made of all the wells. It's a printout.
Yeah.
And I've read them, and I believe it. It'll tell who drilled the well, the depth of it, and the exact location of it. And there's untold hundreds and hundreds of wells in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
There's one right back there An old hand
Hand-
dug well right
yeah.
back there on,
Boy,
on
that's-
your property.
Is it in there? Okay.
No, by George, it ain't on your property. But there's one down there too, I think.
I bet there is. There was there's one on the other property up there, and but anyhow, the drilled wells are recorded whether they're active or inactive and whatever
We got one
else.
here, it's not active, but it's down there.
Yeah.
Pipe's
If you-
still in it.
You cannot supply water to a establishment from a well and from the cities unless you have a what they call a backflow
Mhm.
that'll dump one, won't let the two waters mixes. Anyhow, I wish I could think of what it was I was thinking about earlier.
Maybe you ought to start taking notes.
Yeah, maybe I should, or taking a pill for your memory.
Well, if you get into them that you ain't using, you remember where they're at.
Bring a few up. I'll tell you. Anyhow, lost my keys the other day, and I know where they're at now, but there ain't no way to get them. I jumped in my vehicle in a hurry, and I had two sets of keys. I had the vehicle keys and my personal keys.
Yeah.
And I can still remember them hitting the asphalt. Was in a traffic thing, had a wreck involved, and the traffic went to moving, and I went to get my vehicle in a hurry, and I pulled that set of keys out, and they're on the side of a mountain about 600 miles northeast here.
Well, there's that. Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, talk quick, I'm Star. Okay, y'all right? See you.
Yeah.
Well, anybody out there is interested, we're not doing the Channel 12 Wednesday night show anymore, but we have probably a swinging new replacement in the works. Our agent's been talking with their agents, and our contract is almost set up, and I'll keep you posted, but it'll be available worldwide. Welcome to the Wild Bob and Ronnie show.
I just wanted to say hello to your viewing audience.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Miami, Florida.
That's a long ways. I didn't know you was here all the way down there.
Yeah, it's raining too.
Raining?
Raining.
Well, it ain't raining here, is
It's snowing here.
it? What's the temperature down there?
It's a little bit cold.
What, about 60?
Probably about 55.
Oh, 50. Just a virtual ice age going on down there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you called us. How's it coming in down there?
Well, it's coming in good, but it's got a delay. I guess that's to be expected.
Well, yeah, there's a delay between what's on the internet and what's on the telephone, but it takes a long time to get to Miami.
Well, let's go to space first, don't it?
And what?
Does it have to go to space first?
Space.
No, not in this case it don't. Don't reckon.
Well, alright. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Be good. Well, that was one of our southernmost viewers.
Southernmost. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Both my young'uns called me within 2 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
They must know I'm on the television. I've got something I'm going to play here and get you interested in something, and I'm going to just do the audio because it's not really my property, but I think that the people would like to have it further distributed, but I'm not going to show the video because, like I said, it's not mine, but I'm going to try to play the sound. See how this goes. I have I'll try something else here. Let's see.
This is Blake. Blazingoli again for another installment of Government Gone Wild. You know, we keep on hearing that if we want to get Congress back on track to representing us, that we need to get the special interests out of politics, and I wholeheartedly agree. But what most fail to realize is that government itself is its own special interest and will do and or say almost anything to protect itself. Now stay tuned, because at the end of this video I'm going to show you why our freedoms may be at stake if we don't cut government soon. Our federal government has seen an explosion in its size over the last 10 years, and both political parties are to blame for this. How big has it grown? Over the last decade, the number of private sector employees has grown only 1%. But the number of federal government employees has grown 15%. We are now out of the era of big government and into the era of enormous government. Basically, Congress used this recession to expand government and entrench government workers. When this recession started, while you are worrying about paying the bills and keeping a roof over your family's head, the transportation department had just one employee making over $170,000 a year. Today, that number is 1,690 employees. Wow. When this recession started, while you are worrying about keeping your job and putting food on your table, the Department of Defense had 1,868 employees making over $150,000 a year. Today, that number is 10,100 employees.
What do you think?
It's amazing.
Hey, it gets worse. That ain't all of it.
We're in deep stink. That's all there is to it. The working people can't afford to pay these bills.
Well, they
That's
have
why
to
we're
afford it. I mean, they done wrote us up for it.
Well, not really. They're printing the money to do this with.
Here's some more.
In fact, when this recession started, the number of federal employees making more than $100,000 a year doubled in less than 2 years. And when you include salary and benefits, the average total compensation for a private sector employee in 2009 was $61,000. Now, take a guess what the average total compensation for a federal government employee was in 2009. A whopping $123,000, more than double that in the private sector. Do you really think these people will vote against any spending cuts? Now, this is the important part. There are approximately 21,300,000 government employees in this country. We'll talk about special interest. About 16% of this nation's voting electorate works for government. And most people have at least one person close to them, like a spouse, who will vote with them in an effort to keep their job. Well, that means at least 32% of the voting electorate will come out and vote against anyone who talks openly about spending cuts. And when that number hits 50%, well, it's game over, folks. And then we, the people, will be in the permanent minority. And therein lies the hidden danger of big government. Now, the only way we can make a difference is if people hear this message. Please forward this video to everyone you know before we wake up one day and it's too late. Well, that's it for this edition of Government Gone Wild. Be sure to visit our website and sign up for our email updates and become a fan on Facebook and suggest it to all of your friends.
That's www.governmentgonewild.org if you want to subscribe to this or rewatch this video. And Jerry Kidd sent me this, so I guess I'll thank him for doing that. He's all the time into something like that. When he ain't up there shooting cannons. So, that should give you something to think about. We're working for the wrong people. We ought to be working for the government, like them other 21 million people.
Back several years ago, in this community, I'm going to say the county, there was some type of a small survey done that did an accounting as to how many people or what percentage of the population were employed by some type of a government entity. Now, that be city, county, state, or whatever. And in excess of 50% of those who were employed in the county, not 50% of the county, but the ones that are employed.
Yeah, there wasn't many.
There wasn't many, but were employed by some type of a government agency.
Well, if you throw in their wives or husbands or children or something, there ain't no way we can vote them crooks out of office.
Not only that, no, there's not. We're basically, well, let me go back. I hear people speak, even the president. As a matter of fact, he was on the Late Show last night with Jay Leno, about an hour, and I kind of went.
The president?
The president himself.
Oh boy!
And I went to sleep
Must
during
be
part
back
of
from
it.
his vacation.
Yeah, he missed. Well,
I ain't been awake for the Late Show in years, and I ain't got a television anyway, so I ain't missing
well,
it.
you're not missing a great lot. I can tell you that. That's another thing. If we get a chance to discuss commercials, gosh. Anyhow, let me get back to this. I hear the people in positions of authority, like the president, he makes these statements like jobs, get jobs, do this.
Yeah, but he just
But
talks.
yet, he never says anything as to how to get these jobs.
You know, and he forgets it as soon as he gets people distracted from whatever they're thinking about.
Whenever the people that are talking about jobs, they need to stop and think as to what it takes to create a job. Now, I'm not talking about in the government job. I'm talking about one out here in the private sector.
I mean, one that actually accomplishes something, justifies its existence.
Right.
Okay.
Whenever I started, and that's been a long time ago, back in the dark ages, I believed in what is referred to as the American dream. It's my opinion that you work hard, you take the risk and whatever, and don't to me, there was never no such thing as getting rich quick. There's a few people that win the lottery, but the lottery is nothing more than what the organized crime done years ago in the numbers game.
They
That's
win
all
$1
it
million,
is.
they go spend it on lottery tickets.
Well, right now, when the lottery first started here in Tennessee, I watched the little ball go round and round and round. And the day I saw the thing switch over to a digital computer, I said right then, it's rigged.
Yeah.
And the thing is rigged. Doesn't mean that you can't still win. But what it did, whenever they set it up on computer, they fixed it to where that the state would get a larger portion of the money that's put in. And there's an article, I believe it may have been in today's paper, about the lottery, about how great it is and the money that it's brought in.
Well, it didn't make any money. It just moved it from people who could at least afford it to somewhere else.
That's right.
It didn't generate any wealth whatsoever.
Whenever they
It's
first
a tax on stupidity. Is what it is.
well, when they first came up with this idea, I thought, boy, oh boy, I thought that was a great idea. But the lottery was turned down. They didn't vote it several times. And when the lottery passed the state, the reason in my opinion, for it to pass, that college enrollment was dropping off considerable.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, the only thing they done when they started giving out that free money is just raise tuition.
But what it did is it put all these professors on a federal welfare program.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what it did. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think education is great, but I think if you pay for it, and I know what where you came from on it, I think you got a whole lot more pride in your education.
Yeah.
I think
if you dig it out, you appreciate it.
that's right.
Especially looking to the underside of them old Chevrolets and Buicks, and trying
Yeah.
to get them old power glide transmissions out.
Yeah.
One ear full of transmission fluid and both eyes full of dirt.
Well, it's amazing that
And
grease.
your finger hurting.
That grease usually tastes a little salty, don't it?
Yeah.
When it falls. But anyhow, I think the lottery is a mistake. Every dollar that's spent on that lottery could be spent buying a gallon of milk, or the person that's buying that lottery ticket, rather than buy the lottery ticket, they could invest that money and hope to make enough money to send their offspring to education. And not only that, you could drop the cost of education. If these professors that are making untold six-digit money, if it was that or go unemployed, they would take less money.
Yeah.
They would take whatever the market would stand.
Well, that's the whole thing. The government has screwed up the market, and just like right now, it don't make no difference to me. But right now, they've been trying for a long time. Right now, they're working on this getting wine sales in the grocery stores, which makes sense. But now, the way this thing's supposed to work, whatever's good for the consumer is what the government's supposed to be doing. But these here distributors, these wine distributors, don't want it to go in the grocery stores because their markup's going to come down. The people that make the wine are wanting it in the grocery stores. The distributors don't, and they've spent fortunes of keeping this thing under wraps, and they finally, possibly, they say may have worked out a deal to finally do it. But the whole point is, our government is not out there taking care of us. And wine, I mean, we can live without wine, but the same thing goes on with a whole bunch of other stuff. Just like, for instance, gasoline and electricity. You're going to have to grease the right palms or pat the right backs just to get to market. And if you can use the government to keep you out of that business, then keep somebody, keep the competition out.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, right now, you can open up a beauty shop or a barber shop anytime you want to. But if you cut hair or do anything like that, you better have a beautician's or a barber's credentials.
Certificate.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they'll put you in jail.
Right.
Well, it ain't brain surgery. If you cut a guy's hair bad, he ain't going to go back. It ain't. I mean, I can see where you might need some training to do permanents and stuff, because you got to mix a few chemicals. People do it at home, and they ain't been nobody blowed up with it in a year or two around here. But it's all to keep the competition down.
Right. I understand.
You
I
know
sure
what
do.
it costs to get a medallion, a taxi license in New York?
Oh, it's something unbelievable.
$1 million.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you had enough money, why would you want to? Why would you want to do it?
Well, you can charge $27 to start your car and open the door and let them out the other side. You know. There's actually a law in Nashville now that it's against the law to charge less than, I think, $25 for a taxi ride.
I heard about that thing. They was getting some competition down there, and they couldn't deal with competition. And this, whenever you get back to it, well, that's what our whole capitalistic society or whatever the business works on, competition. I was asked at one time, one of our major competitions was, I think it was up for sale, or probably is, and they asked, why don't you buy your competition? And my response to that is, competition, everybody needs competition. It makes you get up earlier, work harder, stay later, and think.
Yeah, and think.
Yeah. That's all. That's what this capitalistic system's about. You take the risk, but if you take the risk, you're entitled to the profits if you make them.
But you don't get to keep them.
No, you don't get to keep them.
They'll stack
sure
the deck
don't.
against you.
You brought up something there also about electricity. Of course, everybody knows about the thing we did, our school board and the whole nine thing about the solar panels. And I'm still following the solar panels as to people's comments in other locations and whatever.
Do you agree that it would have made more sense to put all those solar panels in one place and kept them off the roofs and had one controller for the whole thing?
I'll tell you what I think would have made more sense.
Left it alone.
Left it alone. Stay the heck out. I don't care where. If you're going to sink that kind of money. We're talking about several close to $2 million, plus the interest we've got to pay on it, and a 20-year payback, and then we got to deal with. There's no way. This is not. Well, it backs up to this. If the TVA was not paying more for this energy than they can produce it for,
Well, we have to subsidize that.
we're subsidizing every utility payer out here. The school board's going to come back and say, look what the money we saved. BS. They may have saved it, but
They just taxed the people in a
that's
different
right.
way.
The other ratepayers paid it.
They had to tax the people in a different way, plus they had to pay interest on it.
Well, now there's a thing here that I've never heard anybody go into depth about. We've got what's called the maintenance of effort or whatever. Okay, the school board is still going to receive exactly the same amount of money. Yet, from what I'm understanding, they're the one that's getting the money back off the utilities, and it's not going back to the general fund to pay this. So what we did, we raised the school budget by the $2 million. Is basically what we've done, plus interest.
Yeah, plus interest.
We've lost on this thing every way you turn at it, and if it paid like they say it is, they would have no objections whatsoever to have an independent group to analyze this thing and look at the numbers. But that's not going to happen. Anyhow.
Well, it's a stacked deck, and I say it. I don't see any way to turn this country around short of a total financial failure, and that's going to bring on anarchy, and there'll be murders, and it'll be a messy place.
I don't like to agree with you, but I'm going to have to agree with you. I understand what you're saying.
It can't go on, and there ain't no way to stop. You've already got too many people expecting their payday for not doing anything, and you can't cut them off. You can't taper them off.
No.
And it's going to happen. I mean, we just can't keep printing money.
I can understand the nature of if this were to happen. You take a look at the news and what's going on in a lot of these countries overseas, or in the Middle East and whatever. You're going to see the same thing here, and it breaks my heart to see buildings destroyed.
Well, we got to find you a seat.
All right.
Here,
How are you?
take this seat and I'll find me one.
Hey, folks.
Here's your. Take this seat and I'll hunt me one.
Oh, I got it for you, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you, Earl?
Well, I tell you what.
Where you been?
I've been in jail.
I heard that rumor. I heard that rumor. Did the goat police get you?
No. What happened, I was supposed to be in court on Friday, and I came down about 8:30, and my lawyer called me and said, you don't have to go to court today. So I didn't go. But
The goat thing?
Huh?
The goat?
On the goat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I didn't go, and then they got me for failure to appear.
I'd say your neighbor loved it.
Huh?
I'd say your neighbor loved it.
Oh, sure, I'm guarantee you that, you know, and you got to come on back over this way till you get in there.
Okay.
But folks, I'm here. I have been fingerprinted. I had all of my worldly possessions confiscated and put in a bag. You know, I'm going to let them keep me.
They don't want you
They
there.
didn't want me.
No, they don't want you. What they want is what you had back there in that back pocket's what they want.
Was, you know, they're just like all of the parts of the government. You know, the main purpose of government now is to separate people from their money.
Yeah.
That's any department, whatever it is, the main purpose is to separate people from their money.
You know, I've got a theory on money.
Money's good and you got it.
Well, money is a measure. They're not taking your money. What they're taking is so much of your life.
Yeah,
Because you spend so much of your life earning that money.
sure.
So it's another way. If they charged you $100 and you had to work 2 days to make that $100. They took 2 days of your life. Is what they
Right.
did. Only thing is, that was negotiable.
Right.
Whenever that's in their pocket, they can spend it somewhere else.
Right.
But if they've got you down there, they're going to have to pay for you. You know, they're going to have to feed you and
I'd at
house you.
least got a meal out of it if I'd been you.
Get what?
I'd have got a meal out of it.
Well,
if I'd
they
been
come by and offered me a and said I could take it with me, but I didn't have anything to put it in.
You're supposed to eat it there.
Right. So
Well,
I wasn't down there but about an hour and a half.
Well, what about your trailer? Did you get
Huh?
it? They find your trailer?
No, they'll never find my trailer probably, you know.
Well, they got that goat desperado though, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Me and Martha Stewart, we'd made this whole world safer by getting arrested.
Maybe you ought to talk to your lawyer and see if he'll go you bail.
Well, my lawyer's gonna pay for this bail. He's done said he was. It was his fault that he didn't clear it for me not to be in court. I come down to be in court, I called. I saw where he called me about 8:30. I called him back. Said you don't have to be in court today. I said okay, and I didn't go to court.
Well, you have to go now, don't you?
I had to go on the 31st, I believe.
If you get them put you there on the 31st of February, you'd be all right.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's maybe.
Well, I never seen anybody have so much trouble over a couple of lawnmowers.
Well,
Which trailer got
Huh?
gone? Which trailer got
that
gone?
little two-wheel one that's 84 inches wide.
7 foot wide.
Huh?
7 foot wide.
Yeah. That's the reason I kept it and never would sell it, because it's a real wide trailer. And,
Bob, if it comes by, I'm good for buying them. That's hot. And I've done
well,
got-
now, what's the guy's name? That
You really want to say it here?
you really want to say it here, but I'll tell you what.
I can tell you his name.
This morning,
I'll tell you his name after a while.
on my desk,
That guy that steals the trailers.
No, I know who that is.
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking about the guy that saw the guy pick it
Oh,
up.
I don't know.
He's a constable. Is he a Rupert or
Rutherford.
Huh? Is it
Rutherford?
Bill?
Yeah, Bill. Yeah, okay, that's who it is. And Bill run out of gas up here at the car wash, and he saw this guy pull in with an SUV and back right up and hook up to it. He pulled out with his lights off, turned his lights on after he got to the road. And it says little red SUV,
Yeah.
okay? And he said he'd recognize the vehicle if he saw it again. But said he didn't know whether they were barring it or what, and so that's the reason he waited till he could get up with me to find out. But said he could recognize the vehicle if he saw it again.
Yeah, but that won't do no good, just recognizing the vehicle.
No.
You got to find out who's driving it and where your trailer went to.
Right, yeah. Well, it's probably at one of these scrap yards.
Well, what it ought to be is parked on top of somebody.
Hmm?
It ought to be parked on top of somebody.
Yeah, exactly right. But I'm welcome. I'm glad to be here, folks, and just tickled to death. And y'all continue with your conversation. What were we talking about during my absence?
Well,
Me?
you guys carry on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna. Well, since you're here,
right.
I'm gonna. And I ain't got nothing to sit on but a bucket.
Okay.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, all right. Find yourself something else, you know.
I ain't hunting something to sit on. We just got
You
another.
know,
We just got another 12 minutes.
I don't know whether you were listening. Did you listen to Harbor and Hilton Hill this morning?
I listened to some of it when I was
Did you hear
transporting.
his explanation about the president was just trash talking?
Give me a chance to think on that. Give me a little bit more to it. I heard.
Well, you know, the president did this interview for the magazine.
Is that where that he said that he gave an explanation for his numbers falling?
Lack of popularity.
Yeah, at about the due to him being
Right,
a colored person or semi-colored or
Right.
whatever.
right.
Yeah, I've heard awful different things said about it, and I heard one comment said it was unusual or it's strange that people had just now discovered that he was colored.
Right. Well, I think so too, but that was his explanation that white people resented him as a black man being president, and that there were some white people that appreciated him being president, and the black people, and he was, but he went on and gave some other interviews, and he was being criticized by a lot of people for what he said, and I'm not sure what he said, but Halloran explained it that he was just trash talking, okay?
Well, I don't, for some reason, let me put it this way. I feel that anyone who holds a position such as the presidency should not be, whatever they say, they should think very careful on what they say and how they say it, and be dead serious on what they say. I don't consider that position to be something for a stand-up comic. I mean, that's serious business, and everything he says is going to be analyzed, and it needs to be serious, and whatever he says, you need to be able to count on it. I mean, to be straight, truth, and whatever.
Right.
And I feel that the president, with the things that he has done in the past, I believe he's lost his credibility. I'm talking about all credibility.
Right. Well, see, he never, Sarah Palin issued a statement right off after he made those comments that he had played the race card. And I think somewhat he does, and the reason he does that is the same reason a basketball player will trash talk to another one, or a football player will trash talk to one another. It's kind of like when you get up to bat, if the catcher says anything to distract that hitter while he's in the batter's box, they're going to eject the catcher. Same thing's true when you're getting ready to put the ball on the green. If somebody says something to distract the person putting the ball, they're going to call a foul, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason for trash talking and things of that nature in sports is to get the person's mind off of what he's got it on, okay?
I see what you're saying.
And that's true even in politics. When the president trash talks and comes out with all that stuff that does not really mean anything when you analyze it, all he's trying to do is get your mind off the real problems that are presenting themselves. I mean, he didn't bring up anything about the fact that he's lied to the public, that he put the IRS on the conservative people with their attempt to deny them the right to have tax status. He didn't say anything in the world about allowing the defense at the Benghazi embassy to go down so bad that our ambassador was killed, and 3 other people had the right immediately there. He didn't say anything about any of the problems of our terrible economy. He said we've had 64 weeks of growth in workers, okay? But he didn't mention the fact that there are 92 million Americans out of work, and only 63 that would work, that are of working age, 92 million, and that there are only 63 million working, which is the lowest number of job participations since 1978 when Jimmy Carter was president. And of course we had a much smaller population at that time too. So that means the percentage of people who are in the workforce is really smaller today than it was in 1978. And none of those, it's strictly because he's black, is the reason that he's being criticized.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
He's African American.
He is.
Yeah.
I
guess I'm Scottish American.
Well, I figured out.
I'm American and Scottish American.
I'm Grantboro American myself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What does, when you boil it right down to it, I don't think either of you, or I'm going to say myself, I don't dwell upon his ancestry as far as what his color is.
Well, he's half white.
Well, I'm saying,
I don't like that half either.
you know, I see people like on TV is where we see most of the people, and the people that I see, and I was raised back to where there was a bias as far as color, but I never did understand all of it, what it was all about, because there was not that many colored people in the area or whatever.
Right.
But anyhow, if you were to ask me like the news announcers and whatever, which ones are black and which ones are not, I couldn't tell you.
Well, it don't
I
matter,
mean,
but here's
It don't register to me,
Well, see,
but it might should, but it don't.
I come from an interesting perspective also. When I came along, there was no television.
Right.
You didn't see the color of people. The way I was raised, I thought Kate Smith was one of the prettiest women that I knew because of her voice. I mean, I did not realize she was a 200 and some pounder, you know.
Yeah,
and
okay.
it really
Right.
didn't make a difference
Okay.
because I was listening to the radio and I was listening to her voice. I did not know or realize that FDR was basically paralyzed and could not walk.
Right.
Okay, because all I heard his fireside chats every time he come on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I heard him talk about his little dog. You know, I heard all of that, but what he looked like, his physical condition, had no bearing on me because I was not aware of it.
I just had an idea.
What?
What if we just not allow any politicians to be shown on TV and all we hear is their voice and their opinions, and we don't get.
Well, first of all, we would elect Earl Nightingale president.
Okay.
I don't know Earl Nightingale.
I don't know that, but you know that's interesting
Who's Earl
aspect to look
Nightingale?
at.
Have you ever heard him on television, on the radio?
No.
He's a beautiful voice.
Well, I tell you what, Earl Nightingale, you're gonna have to sum up and let's get out of here so I can make this thing fit.
All right, in summary, folks, I'm back.
In summary, folks, he got out on his own. BC Bonding help you.
BC Bonded, 563-0065.
Dixie Concrete, 562-5656.
We're going to send a bill to Dixie Concrete.
Yeah.